Uh, Good day again, viewers, all viewers. Um, so this video is a continuation from our previous video demonstrating how to use the app. But in this one, we'll be showing you how to configure and start the application. So there are a couple software we need to download on our environment to get started. This first application or software is Node.js. This allows us to run JavaScript in our terminal. So we'll go ahead and download Node.js. So if you're on a Windows, you go to downloads and you get this page where you then click Windows installer, or if you're on Mac, you click macOS installer, and for source code for Linux and so on. I won't go ahead and download this because I've already downloaded and installed it. The installation is pretty simple, straightforward. After installing Node.js, you can test that it's installed by running this command, node version. As you can see, I'm on Node version 10.16, which is quite okay for now. On installing Node.js, you should now be able to use npm, so you can check npm version as well, which is 6.13. So npm is a package management tool, allow you to download packages. So that's it for Node.js. We'll then need Flutter. So Flutter is a framework built by Google that's used to develop develop apps for both iOS and Android, and they're implementing web app as well now. So you go ahead and download the SDK. You can get this by going to Flutter Dev. I guess you'll get greeted with this screen where you then can click get started, and you'll be directed to the installation page where you choose your operating system. I'm currently on Mac, so we'll download this. The installation is quite the same for both Mac and OS. You can either download the zip and extract it, or you can do a git pull using git clone. But I've already downloaded and extract this folder from a zip. So if I should check download, you should see a folder called Flutter. This was the folder I received from extracting that zip. After extracting the zip, you will need to add Flutter to your environment. So you have Flutter command like this. So you want Flutter to be available in your terminal globally, so you will need to add it to your environment. This is quite different on Mac OS and Windows, so you might have to research on how to add an environment variable to your operating system. And Mac will do something like this. And we'll then export the path. As you can see, we have Flutter, we have export path append downloads Flutter bin. So as you can see, we have add this folder to our environment, which then allows us to use Flutter command in our terminal like this. We can also run Flutter Doctor that check to ensure that everything's up and running for Flutter. Shows you the version of Flutter you're running. Also show you if you have Android SDK installed, what's missing, what you need to install. So this is IntelliJ. I'm not using that IDE at the moment, so I don't need to install the plugin for that, but I'm definitely using VS Code, which I've already installed that package or plugin for that. So these two issues are minor issues for me at the current moment. So after installing and setting up Flutter, you should now get Node.js. You can follow this website. The installation is quite simple. You just run npm i-g at adonis/cli, and it should install Adonis globally on your PC, so you should be able to can run Adonis version as well. And you see we are using Adonis 4.0. Yeah, now what we need to do is do a GitLab pull on our project. So we can do this by going to our terminal. We might need to install Git. I have already installed Git on my machine. If you have not, you might need to install Git. Git is also it's also available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. It allows to do source management. So we'll go ahead and say we want to pull this to our desktop, so we navigate to our desktop directory. So we're now on desktop, so we can do git clone https://gitlab.com. My username, in this case, is mine, but in other case would be yours if you're a part of the development team. It's a private repository, so you need to be a part of the project to do a GitLab clone. The project name is COPS, so we want to enter that. Unable to access. Check if there's something incorrect. Okay, so we have spelled GitLab wrong. Correct that, and now. So as you can see, it's downloading our project from the gitlab.com, storing it into a folder called COPS on our desktop. This will take a few minutes, so we'll leave that let it run. Okay, so our project has been successfully cloned from GitLab. We can now go ahead and access our folder. There are three folders inside our code folder: source, design, build. The design folder consists of all our images, fonts, logos, and a SQL file, XD file showing our design, and a folder for our logos, and so on. We then have source folder, which consists of our web app, web server, and our mobile app. We go ahead and configure both our web services, web server, and web app. So we'll move away from the system terminal to VS Code terminal. So what we might want to do is open VS Code. Using VS Code as my IDE. You can choose to use Android Studio or any other one of your choice. So you might need to download Adonis snippets, Android OS emulator. So this allows to run our Flutter app on emulator, which then require Android Studio to be installed on your computer. I won't go ahead and show you how to set up Android Studio. You might need to do read that on the Android Studio website.com. So you need to install the Flutter plugin, and the Flutter plugin also have a dependency of Dart. So if you install Flutter, it will automatically install Dart. Yeah, so just these three are really necessary: the Flutter, the Dart, and the Adonis.js snippets. After installing that, now we are ready to do some configuring. So first order of business, you might want to go to that environment file. That environment file, these are environment variables. You might want to change your host IP address. We normally leave this to 1.270.01 for local machine, local host, but this poses a challenge when we are supposed to use the app on our phone. So instead we use a computer IP address. So if you're planning on just using the app on your computer with an emulator, this is quite fine. But if you're planning on installing the app on an Android phone or iOS phone to do testing, you might want to change this IP address to your local machine IP address, which you can get. On Windows you can get using config IP config. On Mac I'm not sure of the command, but I can retrieve it getting it from settings. So I go to TCP and there's my IP address. So as you can see, the IP address I was using before was from my IPv4 address. So yeah, you might need to change this at first. I'll go ahead and leave mine at my local IP address. You can either choose to use the local, which is 127, or your other IP address. What else you might need to do now? You might need to run some command, but first need to ensure that we are in our right directory. So we're currently in web services directory, but we need to get in COP server. So we cd COPS server, and now we're in the COP server directory. We then run our simple command np install. This might take a while because it will be downloading all the dependencies for our application from the package.json files. So all these packages are being downloaded and installed. So this will take a while. So yeah, so all the packages have been installed. We can now go ahead and run some few commands. We can go ahead to check that we still have access to the Adonis package. So Adonis version, yes we do. What we might need to do is configure our database. So we're using an ORM system to generate our database tables and fields, but to use the ORM it requires us to already have a database created. So we might need to get that up and running. So we're using MySQL as a database provider. You might need to download and install that. I won't go into that installation and setup, but you can follow the instructions on their website. So give us a while. Yeah. So upon opening MySQL Workbench, it's basically a GUI interface for the MySQL. The first you might need to do is create a user. So we'll log in on our local instance root. Upon installation, you will have set this password. I've set mine to authorize. Yours might be your choice. We'll then go to server, users and privilege, and we'll then create a user of CUPS admin. Please ensure that when you're creating this user, you use authentication type standard and not SHA encryption, because that will cause your password to not work. So please use standard and you secure password, and ensure that administrative privilege you check DBA. This will allow all privilege, insert, create, alter, all of those, and you click apply. After creating that user, you might want to create a connection to save a connection. So you click the this icon beside the plus, a wrench like, or don't quite remember the name at the moment, but yeah, this icon. You want to create a new instance, so you click new, and you can give this connection a name. We'll go as, we name this CUPS admin as well. We'll then change the username to the user we have just created, CUPS admin, and the password. Oh, when you're creating the user, use the password from the environment file, which is this password. It's basically the app key we use as the password. So you would have used this password when you created the user, and then this same password. So if we click test connection, okay, we're getting an error. Unknown database. Oh, wrong. We're using this the wrong place. So we should click test connection, and then we'll get that successful made. So the reason why I didn't have to type in a password, because I already stored it in the keychain. So it will take the password from the keychain. On your Windows, I think this might be different. It might give you a dialog to enter your password, which you'll then paste that password. After creating that connection, we now have a connection named CUPS admin, which allow us to log in quick to our database. We'll then need to create a new database. So we click on create a new schema, and we'll name this CUPS. You can leave the character set and collation to the default. You'll then click apply, and execution was successful. If we look on the schema side, we are seeing a database called CUPS, so that is intact. What we can now do is we can now do a migration to create the tables needed for the application. So this command is Amadeus migration run. And you'll see migration was successful. If you go ahead and check and do a refresh on this database, you should see all these tables inserted. So we have customer token, inventories, many categories, many item, orders, and so on. So all of these tables are coming from the migration, which are these. So it's basically the syntax of creating a table using migration or ORM. So yeah, after creating the migration, you might want to do a seed. What this does is create the default data we need in the database, such as staff types. We need to have default staff type before creating a staff. We then create two staff by default, John Brown and Lance Winter. We then need a default seed for order status. These are different statuses an order can have. It's required by the database or by the system before we can do any order at all. Without this seed being run, we'll receive an error when try to order, or we won't be able to access the staff login of the staff on the web app. So to run this seed, we might need to run a command called Adonis seed, and what this does is run all these seeds in the order I have numbered them. So 1, 2, 3, that's the order that the seed will be run. So if we are supposed to go to the database and check order statuses, we're seeing that the list is empty. Or if we're supposed to check staff, we're seeing that staff is also empty. Let's see the difference after running this command. So the command is Adonis seed. Take a while. Then you see seeded database. So if we go back now and do a refresh on our database in staff, you're seeing a new user, John Brown. And if you check our statuses, you're seeing our statuses was added. We can now go ahead and start our server. So we start our server by running this command, Adonis serve --dev, and you should get a message saying watching files for changes. And yeah, our server is up and running. What we need to do now is some small configuration on the web app side. So we move over to our web app project. We'll then navigate to the web app folder. So cups, web app cups. Then we'll run our npm install to get all the packages from the package.json file. So we have successfully downloaded all the packages needed for this. We can now go ahead and run our web app. So we run it using the same command from previous terminals, Adonis serve --dev, and as you can see, both servers are running, but they're running on different ports. So they're both running on the same local machine. One's just using the IP address. What this IP address does is allow outside devices to connect to our app or server using our IP address, and we leave the web app on this IP address because we only want it to be accessed using this specific machine, right? We can then go ahead and access the manager web app part, so we can do a quick check to ensure that the server and the web app is running. So we go to 127 port 334. As you can see, we get the login screen. We can try to log in. to check if our database is intact and everything. As you can see, we have successful login. So that means our server, our database, and our web app is running quite fine. We can test our application to ensure that we can insert information in the database. So add category, beverage, and we move over to design. So all these icons are available in the same project folder in design. So we click on beverage and we add this category. So as you can see, this category was successfully added. If we go into over to menu, we're supposed to see that that category was added. Alright, we can now go ahead, move over to configuring the mobile app. So we can minimize these two VS Code. So we can open a new window. In this new window, we'll open the mobile app. So I've already have this in my wreath. Well, I'll open another I'll open it. I'll open the next folder. So I'll move over to cups. Sorry about that. So open, and we go to source. Sorry about that. Computer is being a little bit laggy. So we'll move over. We'll do our next open again, and we'll do mobile app, cups, and open. So we have now opened the mobile app directory. So we're now in the mobile app directory. We'll need to run a get package. If you're using VS Code and you have installed all the Flutter plugin, you should get this notification. If not, you can do this by using the terminal command, which is flutter pub get. As I said before, you can find all these commands on their respectful websites. So for Flutter, you can find all these commands, or you can execute them using VS Code plugin features. So what this command does, it's just like the npm install. It downloads all the packages needed by the project by using this YAML file. So these are the packages we're using: Flutter SDK, Flutter SVG, HTTP, provider, and so on. So our packages have successfully downloaded. This not much configuration for the Flutter app. We just need to open our device, our emulator. So if you're using your personal device, you just connect it to the computer. You might need to turn on USB debugging on your Android device, which is quite some settings to change. You might need to Google that. Otherwise, you can just stick to the emulator for a quick setup. But for using the emulator, you need to install Android Studio on your computer. So you need to install Android Studio at first and configure the device. As I said, I'll try to keep this demonstration simple as possible. So you need to do a small research on Android Studio when doing this part. But for now I'll just use my simulator, which is a emulator for Mac that give us an iPhone or iOS emulator. So we're waiting on the simulator to load up. So the emulator is now loaded. We can now go ahead and run our app by running this command. Wow. So I'm opening, but the project folder seemed to have been closed. So yeah, second. Okay, it wasn't closed, it was just hidden. Alright, so the command we can run flutter run, or if you have installed the emulator plugin, which is Android iOS emulator, you could run it from right here using start debugging, but we'll keep it simple and just use the command flutter run. So we have click run on that command, give it a few seconds. As you see, it said launching live main Dart on iPhone 11 Pro Max. So the emulator I'm using is a emulator for the iPhone Pro Max. So it's loading to the phone. This might take a while depending on your computer specs. It's a very extensive program or process. Once again, it's running the get command. So even if we haven't run it at the initial stage of opening the project, it would have still been run after running the flutter run command. So normally after this whole building stage, the app would have automatically been open on our emulator. But as I said before, this might take a while. So what I'll do, I'll pause this video and resume when it's finished. Welcome back. So the app has just finished building. As you can see, it has opened up on the emulator. After building the app, you get these few commands you can run by using the specific letter. So we can do a hot reload, a hot restart, we can clear screen, or we can quit the application. We can press R to do a hot reload, which you see the app refresh, or we can do a hot restart by holding down Shift and R, and we got a hot restart. So what we do is just go ahead and do a small check to ensure that our app is connected to the web server and so on. So we'll try to do a quick sign in just to check if the server is up. We should receive a message showing that incorrect password or username. With that, we'll know that the app is communicating with the web server. Sorry about that. So we have received the message that we are open to receive. We can now go ahead and create an actual user because there's currently no customer in the database. So we'll create a quick user. Now this video was made after the demonstration, so we wouldn't go too much in depth in the whole demonstrating how the app work. We're just testing if after all this configuration and installation, if everything is intact. So we have get message showing that account was successfully created. That means that our app is in communication with the web app, which is with the web server, which also means that the web server is in communication with the database. And if we are to log in, we should be redirected to the dashboard of the customer, which you can see right here. And we're not getting any order because there's no order in the database, but there's the one category we have added, beverage. So we'll just go ahead and add one simple menu item just to demonstrate that everything's working. So beverage, Arizona, cost of 150, and we can find a menu image from design menus, and we choose Arizona. Open, add menu item. Now we have just added menu item to our menu list. If we go back over to the app and check, we should see Arizona. It's showing that Arizona is out of stock. We can do a small inventory adjustment and add about 5. Nothing, not too much. As we swipe again, we should see that we have 5 Arizona in our inventory. So thanks again for sticking around to watch this demonstration. I hope it was productive, and thank you again.